Hello and welcome to Mr. Rock's Top 10 Game Shows Mr. Rock Likes. With your host, Mr. Rock, and we're going to get things right into it, to be honest. With number 10 being The Weakest Link. Weakest Link was a TV show that was in the 90s and 2000s, I believe. And I just loved it because technically it made people literally freaking feel like they really screwed up on the easiest questions. And it was just all pure around freaking hilarious to see. But yeah, there was The Weakest Link. And then number 9 will be Supermarket Sweep. Now, Supermarket Sweep is actually a dear freaking TV show to Mr. Rock. I kind of grew up with that back in the early days with Tino Monte. And I used to watch that quite a bit. And I know some people would say, well, the American version had a different guy and everything else. I've seen both versions. I've seen the American and the Canadian. The one that Mr. Rock grew up with was the Canadian version with Tino Monte. And technically, yeah, I used to love that show back in the day. It used to make me laugh so hard when people would just literally start stocking up their piles with meat and everything else just to try to win a prize. And it could be like the most cheapest freaking prize ever. It will be like maybe a rocking chair or something that they win, and it's just like, oh wow. But yeah, number 8 is Wheel of Fortune. Wheel of Fortune, you've seen me play it on the live stream before, in a way. I love Wheel of Fortune, always have. But especially with Pat Sajak and Vanna White. But the original host was Chuck Woolery, in a way, back in the day. Big shout out to Chuck Woolery, to be honest. I freaking love you, buddy. Just keep doing what you're doing. But yeah. Number 7 is Jeopardy. Freaking rest in peace, Alex Trebek. We miss you, man. True Canadian right here. You know, Canadian to Canadian. We still miss you, buddy. But at the end of the day, yeah, I used to love Jeopardy. I used to try to play along at home. I could never get the answers right half the time, but there are some questions I did get right here and there. I have Jeopardy on Xbox, but I don't have it on PlayStation, so that's why I would never live stream it. But at the end of the day, I do love Jeopardy. Number 6 is Lingo, which is a Chuck Woolery TV show as well. I love freaking Lingo. I think it's one of the smartest freaking shows, to be honest, because it's 5-letter words and you get to play bingo. You know, just guess the 5-letter word, pick a ball, and then technically you can win. I thought it was really creative and everything else. But yeah, number 5 is Russian Roulette. There used to be a game show called Russian Roulette where technically you would answer the questions, and if you got the question wrong, you would have to play Russian Roulette pretty much by pulling a handle and then dropping down a hole if it lands on you. I freaking used to love Russian Roulette. It used to make me laugh so hard when people would drop. Because some people would literally scream like a little girl, and it's just like, oh my goodness. But yeah, Russian Roulette would be number 5. Number 4 is Card Sharks. I used to love Card Sharks. Still do. I still watch them from time to time. But yeah, like, Card Sharks with Bob Newbanks was good. You know, like, you would have to literally freaking draw the cards out and everything else and go from there. But yeah, I used to love Card Sharks. Number 3 is Pyramid, and the reason why I didn't put 10,000 or 25,000 or whatever is because technically that's the way how the show was. First, I believe it was 5,000, 10,000, 25,000, 150,000, and $100,000 pyramid. I used to love that show with Dick Clark. Dick Clark, you're amazing. Rest in peace, buddy. I still miss Dick Clark's Rockin' New Year's Eve every year. I used to watch that constantly and watch the ball drop, but you know he's not here anymore. But at the end of the day, I still miss Dick Clark. Number 2 is Press Your Luck with Peter Tamarkin. I freaking love Press Your Luck. Even the new stuff with Elizabeth Banks, it's fantastic stuff. I freaking love Press Your Luck. Great TV show. I love the whammies. I find them to be hilarious and everything else. You know, like a lot of people think they're going to win $1 million, and all of a sudden, whammy, comes out of nowhere and strikes them. So I just love that show. And then Mr. Rock's honorable mentions for game shows before we get to number 1 will be Greed. I used to love the show Greed with Chuck Woolery. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Also, Family Feud would be an honorable mention. But technically, I only want to do a top 10 list, and those shows would be in like the top 20 list if I was to do a top 20 list. Those shows will definitely be on there. It's just that some of those shows were kind of like, you know, like Family Feud, for instance, like how Richard Dawson would. They had so many hosts, but I always prefer Richard Dawson over all of them, to be honest. Richard Dawson, rest in peace. You were the man. You know, I loved you in the Running Man and everything else. And now, on to number one of Mr. Rock's top 10 game shows, which is Let's Make a Deal with Monty Hall. Not frickin' what's his name there? I forget his name there. The one that's doing it now. But either way, like, I love Monty Hall. I got to meet Monty Hall back just before he died, actually, which is freaking really weird. But yeah, I got to meet Monty Hall. I went to the same high school as him, and that's where I actually got to meet him, because my high school was actually doing an anniversary. I think it was celebrating its like 100th year or something like that over here, and Monty Hall literally showed up, and my teacher surprised me with him because he knew I was a big Let's Make a Deal fan, and technically, yeah, I got to meet Monty Hall, got to shake his hand, and even give him a hug before and everything else. And yeah, um, Monty Hall was born and raised in Winnipeg, so in a way. But yeah, that is Mr. Rock's top 10 game shows that Mr. Rock likes, in a way. I grew up with game shows and everything else, just like most of you probably did, because technically, you know, that's the way how we are. But at the end of the day, um, but yeah, I like to get. I'm literally just wrapping the video up, so make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. And with that being said, I'll catch you guys later.